Welcome to Acton in Focus. I'm Vivian Kopsinger-Birchall, your host, and my special guest is Syncere Martinez. Welcome.
Hello.
This is the second time I'm hosting you, Syncere. The last time it was with your mother, talking about your inspiration, your Black history inspiration that you expressed through art.
Correct.
And this time we are at Blackbird Cafe here in Acton, and we're talking about art, but in a different context. So can you explain to us what this art is about?
Okay, sure. So my mother and I have been in Acton, Boxborough since about 1976. We've traveled different places, School Street, Orchard Drive, that sort of thing. But it was very important for her to teach me diversity at a very early age. You know, what's now referred to as diversity. At that time, it was really just Black pride, or however you want to see that. So I sort of grew up with these images in my head of how it would look, you know, if I had to, let's say, dictate Black culture or how I viewed Black culture or Black history. How would I do it? You know, at first it's honoring the greats, of course. I have Huey P. Newton on. But then it's like, well, what's my spin going to be on it? What's my take going to be on it? So I have about 40 or 50 different canvases that I did for Black History Month in the Hamptons, outside of New York City. And when thinking about converting from New York City, a New York City audience to an Acton Boxborough audience or a Concord audience, like how do you do that? So I've called many people, tried different places, art galleries, so on and so forth. I met Luke, Blackbird Cafe, through my mother, who contacted him about Juneteenth. I guess he'd done a Juneteenth event or celebration last year, so he wanted to include me this year in Juneteenth. And this is his way of doing it, by displaying some of my art.
Fantastic. I mean, it's not every day that we see lots of Black art.
That's true.
For lack of a better word, especially in this part of Massachusetts, in Acton or Concord area. So this is amazing. But can you maybe explain what you put into this art? Like, how do you determine what to draw or what to publish or what to put out?
So it's staying with the greats. So you'll see I've done a remake of Malcolm X. I did a remake of Huey P. Newton. I've done a remake of Tommie Smith from the '68 Olympics, where he did the Black Power fist while after winning a gold medal. So it's sort of like recreating and then trying to find my own lane at the same time, which is interesting based on the three that you see here. One is an iconic salute to a very, very famous New York City art or picture that they turned into art. And then two are just sort of everyday, I don't want to say struggles, but sort of my timeline during my life in terms of different situations.
Right, and before we show our viewers all the marvelous art, could you mentioned that you have tons of art, but here you selected, or somebody selected 3 pieces that are at
Correct.
Blackbird Cafe. Who selected them, and why did they choose these 3?
That's a great question. So Luke has his own staff. So it's Katie, Jennifer, Rock. Jennifer and Rock are pretty much the managers here. And they kind of had the final say. So I sent them about 20 different pieces, and they chose these 3.
Okay.
And I had to tell them what they were choosing. It didn't have like a description, choose this based on this. So they really just went on the feel and the emotion that they got from looking at the depictions.
Right.
So salute to them,
Which is great, because art is relative to different people. So it's interesting how each of them selected something completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah, so maybe with that, can we just look at the different art pieces and give us a little bit of explanation on what each of them
Where do you want to start? So this was taken from a very famous picture of guys doing building a skyscraper in New York City and having lunch. So it's called Lunch on a Skyscraper or something close to that. This one is particularly called Lunchtime in Harlem, based on Syn's vision. So these, believe it or not, are the 5 pillars that I've created my brand off of. This started with my logo, which is a skull with an afro and then an afro pick. This one is a spin from Homie the Clown. He's called Rudy the Clown, and he kind of goes after fitness guys. This one here is Brutality Bear. It's from an athlete that I used to sponsor in New Jersey that wore the craziest shoes and pants, and he looked like a teddy bear, so I just made him a teddy bear. This one is Skully. Skully is the rebellious teenager, as you can see. He's smoking, right? And he's got a grenade in his hand, so he's completely rebellious. This, and we'll get into it later, is Rory the Reaper, and he's depicted over there in the flesh, so we'll talk about that one later. And that's Tommie Smith, rather than the Lady Liberty, so that's Tommie Smith from the '68 Olympics. So this is sort of my version of Harlem. So there's my gym. It's got to be at Harlem, right? Right behind the Apollo. Hello. And there's my own billboard, AfroBrutality, made in Harlem. So hand sketched, took a long time really to try to figure out what made the most sense. It's not perfect. It's hand sketched, so you'll see, you know, the windows aren't all the same and things like that, but you can tell that this is an original piece.
Fantastic. On to the next piece.
This one I call the Harlem 6+1. So the name of my company is AfroBrutality, and when I took it to athletics, I just put in the word sports. I started sponsoring lacrosse teams, weightlifting teams, CrossFit teams, OCR teams, like mud runs and stuff like that. This particular one, now when I started it as AfroBrutality Sports, there were 6 of us, and we all lived in Harlem, and we were all like 5 to 7 blocks away from each other, and I kept it that way, black and brown, black and brown. I was making this huge statement, black and brown, black and brown, black and brown. So Caleb, we're at one of the championships for CrossFit, and he turns to me and he says, Syn, I want you to make my outfit if I go to the CrossFit Games. I was like, okay, no problem. But to start it off, I said, all right, there's a competition coming up in Natick. So this is depicted in Natick, Massachusetts, and this is a CrossFit competition. Now there were 6 of us plus him, and he came in 3rd. So if you look at the entire depiction, there's no diversity. You know, it's all what you would typically see in Natick, Massachusetts, except for the fact that he's representing diversity with the AfroBrutality Sports shirt. So I call this one the Harlem 6+1. And it's perfect that they picked this, because I didn't tell them it was in Natick, Massachusetts. They just decided to pick this. So I think this one is perfect.
Wow. That's strong.
Isn't that strong? That's very strong, very strong.
All right, final one.
And this last one is Mr. Syn meets Rory. So Rory Hamill, Purple Heart, was in Afghanistan. He was one of the guys that would look for the IUDs on the ground level. And he found one. And when he found one, he felt like he dropped into a hole. What happened was his leg came right off and it cauterized quickly so he didn't bleed out or die. This particular one, we had been talking for about 3 years on social media, and we'd never had a chance to meet up. We'd always miss each other. He'd be in the city, I'd be somewhere else, and we missed each other. So he started advertising a Veterans Day shoot. So somewhere in some crazy place in Pennsylvania, there's an entire town that has no law enforcement whatsoever, and every year for Veterans Day, all the veterans, or as many as they can, line up and they pay for bullets to shoot all the latest guns and artillery that are going into battle the next year. So we're literally standing on basically a war wagon, and I'm asking them, like, what made you even want to start following me on Instagram or start reaching out? And we were just talking about the messaging that I do every day and how it spoke to him. Unfortunately, during COVID, May 1st, 2020, he took his life.
Oh.
He was always fighting those types of demons because he felt like he didn't deserve a Purple Heart just because he lost his leg. And then he was like, I'm doing what I can to talk about suicide prevention within the military, but no one's listening. And I was listening, and I was doing everything I could to help him and be there for him So that particular day, I bought cameras, I bought everything, and that was the first and only time I got to actually meet him. So this is a very important picture for me.
And how, first of all, thanks for sharing that story. How does it tie into your general theme? Because it's a little different from the others, because you're trying to show a voice of somebody who is not necessarily black, maybe not even necessarily a person of color, I don't know, but then they are sharing their story of pain, right, and being unheard.
Well, the funny thing is, the name of my of company is AfroBrutality, and it for some people it rings black power, black pride, black this, black militancy, and for some it just rings hardcore life. You work hard at life, you get what you deserve out of life based on how you work. So if you noticed, I wanted to just salute myself, my parents, and the way that I was raised, and to show them, though I'm a black man, I can work in the world as a black man. I don't have to change what I wear, change what I say, change who I am, and I, on my own, could appeal to people on a different level, on a cellular level. Because I just look black in the flesh, you take this away of something else, you know what I mean?
You can change it,
and he's just white in the flesh, but you take that away, we're all the same. And that's sort of where I went with the logo. I went with the skull. Everyone asks, why'd you go with the skull? Because underneath everything, we're the same. We're absolutely the same. It's just visibly, as we walk around, we look different, but we're absolutely the same. So this really just kind of shows that I could be as hardcore black as I would like to be and change everything. And then I'm as soft as you want to be and include others. I was never about exclusion. I was always about inclusion. I was always trying to figure out how to make us all see each other as the same, not see each other as different. Though we're visibly different, once we get into a conversation, we're going through the same ills that everyone else is going through. So you're just seeing, Purple Heart accommodated by Obama, and a guy I met during the CrossFit years that wanted to represent me, and then my own representation on my own. So it just kind of shows the journey that you can be exactly who you want to be, because underneath everything, if you're really trying to go for a universal message, people will hear it and people will adhere to it and people will celebrate it as well.
This is powerful, Syn. Thank you again for really sharing this art. Maybe just to think of the way forward, where else are you exhibiting this art and where can people find it? That's
a great question. So we're looking at Martha's Vineyard and a few other places, but I'm trying to stay local as well. So I'll be reaching out to local businesses that may or may not do something like this in terms of displaying art, just to kind of be able to have these conversations that, though I visibly look different, I've lived in Acton, Boxborough since the 70s, you know what I mean? So it's totally different. So that'll change. So as I start going around to different businesses and just telling my story, hopefully everyone will understand.
Well, again, thank you so much for your showing us your art, your beautiful art. I hope you can. I hope Acton residents can come to Blackbird Cafe and check it out. But also, I hope that wherever you take the art next, you will let us know so that the public can come.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, and to our viewers, thank you for watching Acton in Focus. Till next time.